Start.
All yours,
Well, I didn't really
Supervisor.
want to-
We're ready.
All set?
All set.
I welcome everyone to this, excuse me, October 25th meeting of the Rushtown Board. Will you please join me in our Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And will our town clerk please call the roll?
Councilperson Corbin,
Here.
Councilperson Morelli,
Here.
Councilperson Oliver.
Here.
Supervisor Cusey.
I am here, thank you. I would like to make an announcement because we've got so many people here tonight and I just thought of it. I'm having technical trouble with my hearing ability. This one doesn't work. This one partially works. So anyone who speaks, if you please raise your voice, won't think you're yelling. And I would like to hear everything that you have to say. Thank you. We can now enter the public comment period. Remember, please, we have a 3-minute rule. State what you have to say in 3 minutes and be kind and considerate of others. So who would like to speak? Please identify yourself and your address and have at it.
And turn it on. Slide up.
It's on.
Hello?
It works.
Catherine Hankins, 2353 Pinnacle Road. The core legal basis governing the use of parkland is called the public trust doctrine. The doctrine is set by 150 years of state court decisions to protect public parks. Parkland alienation occurs when a municipality wishes to sell or lease any municipal parkland. Prior authorization is required before entering a lease or sale in the form of legislation enacted by the New York State Legislature and signed by the governor. BOCES transferred the 215.73 acres of public land on East River Road to the town in 2011. Our town accepted the deed restrictions, which were changed from educational for BOCES to park and recreation for the town, and acknowledged the reverter clause stating that if deed restrictions are not followed, the state could take back their land. The town board signed the lease with a non-public business in August 2022, giving it authority and control of park buildings, fields, and pastures without first obtaining state legislative approval. There are a few exceptions that do not require legislative approval, such as licensed concessions on time-limited leases for programs such as the Monroe County Fair. It should be noted that the state approved our town continuing the lease with the New York State Transportation Museum when the land was transferred. Before the lease was signed last year, what was being proposed was a small-scale youth program that would not interfere with park access and activities. Based on New York State guidance, 2 reasons why the lease would be considered parkland alienation and require prior legislation to enact are: 1, the lease does not include a revocable on-demand clause, and the lease contains promissory clauses that give authority and control to the leaseholder. Regardless of the initial intent, a year later, our town park is now a large-scale commercial horse farm operation, accomplished without state legislative approval. Supervisor Cusey and Councilmember Wooliver were both on the town board in 2017 when Senator Funke sponsored legislation at the request of the town board to alienate parkland, so they are very familiar with the legislative process and the requirements. Each member of the town board has an obligation to adhere to the public trust doctrine and fully understand and follow the New York State laws regarding parkland alienation. The board may be able to change the terms of the lease agreement to meet the deed restrictions agreed upon when the land was acquired, and to meet other state laws regarding running commercial business on parkland. The New York State Parks, Recreation, and Historical Preservation can assist and guide the town in making these choices and help ensure our public land is protected. They gave me guidance in terms of creating this statement. Thank you for the opportunity to present. Upon request, I will be glad to provide anyone who is interested with additional background information on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak?
Supervisor, I've also added to the chat feature explaining our technologies. So far, no one at home has added they'd like to speak.
No one?
No one. Yep. You have any little red icon in the bottom under chat? Sometimes they'll message you directly instead of me. You see anything, anyone down there? While she's looking, our owl is back. For those of you who are familiar with our lovely owl. Earlier this afternoon, when they were testing the system, our monitors weren't working. So people at home can hear you, they can see you. You just won't be able to see them, but you'll be able to hear them. Nobody? All right, no one, Supervisor, and I have no one.
Going once, going twice? All gone. Okay, we can move on to the approval of minutes by Councilperson Woliver.
Make a motion to approve the board minutes for September 27th, 2023, as submitted by Town Clerk Busey. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Williver,
Aye.
Supervisor Kusey.
Aye.
I haven't reviewed the October 11th, 2023.
We have not received them yet. The only ones we,
Probably I haven't done that.
the only other ones we received were October 2nd workshop.
That one I've seen. I move to approve the town board workshop minutes of October 2023 as submitted by Town Clerk Busey. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Abstaining because I didn't have a chance to read it. Thank you.
Councilperson Williver,
Aye.
Supervisor Kusey.
Aye. And now, Dan, you had a chance to warm up because you're in the driver's seat for the approval of the abstract.
I move, having reviewed all vouchers on abstract 10-2 of October 25th, 2023, authorizing the payment totaling $60,400.40, which includes Fund AA General for $32,737.03, Fund DA Highway $21,094.06, and Fund LL Library $6,284.06, and Fund ST Special District $285.25. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Williver,
Aye.
Supervisor Kusey.
Aye. We can move on to reports from board members, the town clerk, the town attorney. And we can start with Deputy Supervisor Corbin.
All right, let me find my notes. Thank you, Supervisor. I attended the Conservation Board meeting and Planning Board meetings this month. The October Zoning Board of Appeals meeting was canceled because no applications had been received by the deadline, which is the 10th of the previous month. I received the most calls since my 3 years and 10 months of being on this board, taking office, in regards to the permissive referendum petition that has been turned into the town clerk on October 13th in regards to the amended lease with a horse's friend, the town of Rush, White Springs Farm located on East River Road. All the calls I have received have been in favor of the amended lease. Today, I had a very interesting meeting, and I think the town is going to be hearing more about a potential very large-scale solar project, 21 megawatts on 100 and 51-acre parcel off Official Road potentially. Hudson Energy, they're out of New York City. We had a very good meeting with them. They're very interested in working with the town. They are hopefully going to be coming before all of you and us beginning of December. A presentation of what they are looking to bring to the town on that parcel and how it would look, how it would interconnect. Again, just preliminarily, for those of you that have been around our local solar law from 2019 and so on, we've had presentations from different, developers. So we thought this would be a good thing, and they thought as well, to be able to explain to the residents and the town board what they're interested in doing.
Are they aware of our limit?
They are, and interesting enough, when it is this size, 21, 22 megawatts, they have an option of either going the local seeker route through the town, or they can go 94C through the ORS process, and that's what they're trying to decide what they want to do. Let's see. My last little note is, speaking of solar, many of you that live along East River Road from Fishel Road to Honey Falls number 6 Road, I've been bringing up about the water survey that Invenergy / Horseshoe Solar has sent out to anyone that has wells along that stretch of land based on their project that they're going to be putting in, because they want to get a base idea of what these water wells might have in them and things like that. If you've gotten the survey and you haven't turned it in, please turn it in. If you have not gotten a survey, let me know, and I'll put you in touch with the attorney for Horseshoe Solar and Invenergy to be able to get that survey as well. It's very important. If you know of anyone with a private water system, not public, along that stretch or any of the areas off, they are looking for that information from us. And that's all, Supervisor.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
How about Board Member Morelli?
Thank you. Last night, October 24th, I attended the regularly scheduled planning board meeting. There was one hearing last night for a new application for a new home to be built on Woodruff. And everything moved along. There are some conditions that need to be met before, I guess, final approval for a building permit. But otherwise, it went through a lot of discussions by the planning board members. And so it was very fruitful discussion with the applicant. There was also a training, a 1-hour training that Chairman Strock presented to the planning board members that was very informative on the various zones and the zoning changes that we're hoping to make as a result of our code committee. And Scott is on that committee, and so a lot of very positive changes hopefully happening in that regard. Yesterday, I also worked on reviewing RFPs for the pedestrian bicycle planning grant. And I did all my reviewing and scoring and turned that in. So, and then yet today, this morning, I also met with the potential new solar developers to hear what they had to say. And we encourage them to please come and make a presentation to the town, as Amber Corbin suggested, so that everybody could hear what we're hearing and you can all learn from that. That's it.
Thank you very much. And Dan, we'll
I have
get,
a question. Can 3 board members meet with a private entity to discuss something like that?
This came up at the last minute. There was no decisions. Amber asked me to sit in because they are retiring off the board. And this was a last minute thing that they thought someone should be hearing this who will be continuing on the board. It was a sit and listen.
quorum. Can't be. Cannot be like that. No, you can't. No, you can't.
It was a last minute decision and,
I understand,
and
but
an
you can't
ask that came up.
I understand that you can't have 3 board members meeting. Exactly. You know, on any matter, whether it's with somebody or not.
That's against the law.
Okay. There were no
7:15.
decisions being made.
Seven
You still
fifteen,
have
Jerry.
to have a
I'm,
notice.
I'm trying to
of a
get
meeting.
through this.
She doesn't have the right to talk.
I met with the library board.
I'm
Oh.
I'm gonna ask you to hold off till we get through the public
Okay.
hearings. Thank
Oh.
you.
Oh.
And our first public hearing is the preliminary budget. And I've asked Janice Smith, our finance guru, to sit at the table because I think she may be involved in some of the conversation that goes back and forth. It is a public hearing, so you'll be allowed to speak. But you have a 5-minute limit on what you want to say, so I will monitor the conversation. And anyone who goes over 5 minutes, I will ask them to stop. So, Janice, do you want to open up the public hearing?
Sure.
She's
Would you
gotta
like
read
to
the
know
local.
notice?
Please do the notice.
This is hereby given that the preliminary budget of the town of Rush for the year 2024 has been completed and filed in the office of the Rush Town Clerk, and where it will be available for inspection by any interested person during regular office hours beginning on October 11, 2023. The Rush Town Board will hold a public hearing on October 25th, 2023 at 7:15 p.m. at the Rush Town Hall, 5977 East Henrietta Road, Rush, New York. At such hearing, any person may be heard in favor or of or against preliminary budget as compiled.
Hi, I'm Janice Smith. I am the budget officer. We started the process back in July. I met with all the department heads and we went over their spending for the last few years and what we could do. So since then, they also did a presentation in front of the board in August. Each department head explained what they were looking to spend. We are looking at a 2% increase. That is underneath the tax cap, so we are fine there. The last few years, you have not had any increase. So with a 2% increase, just to kind of give everybody a heads up of what they're looking at, the average home is 230,000 home. It's not even $20 difference from what you have been paying. So, but the little bit will be helping us. There's some major costs that are coming this next year that we have found out about, are being forced to, especially with our buildings and grounds. So with that, that will actually help cover some of those costs that we're looking at. So I don't know what else to say. So say whichever you'd like.
Would any member of the board like to make a comment?
I'm trying, here is the sign up. When
We're
you're
not
ready.
board members.
No, I know, when you're ready, there's the sign up.
No one would like to make a comment?
I'd like to hear what the public has to say.
Okay, fair. First on the list is Kelly Pruden.
One second.
Kelly Pruden, 6051 East Henrietta Road. Coming to the board as president of the library board. As you know, our board and Kirsten worked very hard to present a very comprehensive budget that we carefully review. And we don't ask for anything that is not deserved, earned, or needed by the library. We had asked for a certain percentage to increase our employee's salary in order to kind of meet the rising minimum wage issues. And it's my understanding that a meeting was held, that the town board had a meeting on August 30th. It was an executive session without notice. I had written a letter to the town board, which I've had no response from. So I'll just reiterate, any action that was held during that meeting where it was decided not to give the library board or other town employees the requisite bump to keep it up with the minimum wage requirements be null and void. The meeting shouldn't have happened. There was no notice. Anything that happened there should just be gone.
Want to respond to that? This is too late. Okay. Next is Catherine Hankins.
Thank you for doing the budget this year. So my concern is I didn't plan it, but technology. We have invested quite a lot of money in equipment, but without a technology person, without someone who can really be a support person, I think that that's a really missing element. I have a little bit of difficulty reading the budget and comparing it because it's just now that I don't have the thing on the website, but that was one of my major concerns. The other is that I'm a little concerned about sustainability of some of the pieces. I know that we have a huge amount of money in there for grounds repair, and I think that that's coming from the unexpended balance. So that's a match. But I really worry about having that we might need to have more of an understanding and a plan for salary increases and start to have that reserve fund so that we're planning now to put X amount of money into reserves like we do for the highway department for a new truck, that we need that for our operating budget as well. So I'm worried about and some things looked a little high for me in terms of recreation for the pavilion. So now I don't want to be, maybe it's worthy 35,000 versus 20, but I wonder how that's going to. There's just some things that are a little higher than I expected. But I think the technology piece, if there's that really should be added because we've spent a lot of money on equipment, but without a person. We're looking to the clerk to do everything. And I think that's it's just not that we need a person. So that's my comments, and I think that's it.
Thank you. And next is
Can I
Kirsten.
just
Oh,
respond to
yes.
that really quick? So I don't have anything to say about technology person, I can't even speak today. But the building reserves, we are starting to look at that. And we were actually hoping to start the process maybe even this year if we have funds left over. So we are considering that because there is long-term wise, there is a lot of buildings issues that we have. So
it doesn't hit the budget quite like it.
yes, exactly.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Yes, good, sorry.
Next is Kirsten Flass.
Kirsten Flass, the Rush Library Director. I appreciate the opportunity to speak at the public hearing tonight. It will likely come as no surprise to you that I'm here to discuss the library personnel portion of the budget. On Monday, October 2nd, after the town board reduced our library board approved budget request, I gave the town board members a document with an overview of the wage compression problem that is looming unless all wages are raised by the same percentage. You were given a chart of the library wage schedules for this year and next year, so you could see that with New York State minimum wage increasing by 5.6% for desk clerks, it's necessary to also increase the rest of the library positions by 5.6% to maintain wage separation by job title. The town's decision to give only a 3.5% cost of living to senior clerks means that in 2024, desk clerks can make more money than the senior clerks they work under. I also explained how being a senior clerk involves greater hiring qualifications, more challenging jobs, and more responsibilities than their subordinate desk clerks. How would you feel if a subordinate employee made more money per hour than you do? Without equivalent pay rate increases in the library department, the wage structure will become untenable. If you don't address it now, it will only continue to get worse. Minimum wage is projected to go up again in 2025. The Rush Library is well regarded in this community as a great place to visit and work. I'm pretty proud of that. As library director, it's my responsibility to attract and retain talent. If wages are not equitable, I cannot do that. Staff are motivated by both workplace culture and compensation, and I currently have a great team. But working for the government means that one salary is open to public viewing. So everyone who works here knows each other's salaries. Imagine how bad employee morale will be if pay is no longer equitable, or if staff are regarded as undeserving of uniform COLA increases. Will service suffer? Last year's town board conversations around library pay rates led to the rumor around town that I personally make six figures. For the record, I currently make $51,867, which works out to $28.50 per hour. And that's after 18 years of service as library director. I manage 7 employees and all the library operations. I am still within our wage scale. Recently, a new town employee was hired at a wage rate beyond the wage scale for that position. That's not fair, and it feels insulting. If the town board can approve that pay rate, they can and should find a way to pay library staff what they deserve. Please honor the pay rates set by the Library Board of Trustees. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak regarding the 2024 budget? No one else signed up, but I'll give anyone who would like a chance to speak the opportunity. Apparently not.
And I have no one on Zoom. I don't know if the deputy town clerk has anyone in the chat feature. No, she does not.
Janice, do you have any idea what the cost would be between 3.6 and 5.6 for the library?
If I remember correctly, this is totally a rough number. It's roughly about 2,000.
Want me to close the public hearing?
No, I'd like to give other board members a chance to speak up if they'd like.
The budget that was presented to us to review does include a 2% increase. And as has been stated, we have not had an increase in the last few years, trying to keep it flat. But with this 2% increase, there's also an increase in using some of our fund balance in the amount of $479,000. Otherwise, we would be exceeding the tax cap as calculated or as mandated by New York State. So I think anybody could do the math that using that kind of money is unsustainable. And we will have to continue to raise taxes. We've been trying to keep it low, but it would come as an awful shock when one year, and I don't know what that number would be, maybe it'd be a 10% increase in your taxes to make other ends meet. So I think this has been gone over in quite detail, and we did research as to what other towns were doing. We're giving a higher increase. than Brighton, a higher increase than Wheatland. Just to put it in perspective, I couldn't get enough research as to what other towns were doing. It was hard to figure that out, but I just went right to the minutes with the budgets for as many towns as I could find. We don't like to be out in left field, honestly. And I could tell you for myself, and I believe my other board members, that any increases or limits, perceived limits on increases, has nothing to do with the quality of work of anybody. It's a budget that we have to try and pass that's reasonable and stays within the tax cap and fits in things that we need to do here in the town, and to give a reasonable increase to our employees, better than some other towns, bigger towns. So maybe it's not up to everybody's expectations, but we tried to accommodate a lot. We did give a higher increase to certain library personnel because of minimum wage mandates. The town also offers a very generous compensation package to its full-time employees. That includes 90% of the cost of health insurance. Health insurance, by the way, has gone up 15%, is projected to go up 15%. And the town is absorbing all of that extra expense and not asking those full-time employees to chip in more. That comes at a cost.
And our retirees, we also cover
We
that.
cover for our retirees as well. So I think, you know, a lot of times maybe that is not discussed. But there's a lot of factors to try and figure out how do you make it meet and stay within a reasonable increase to the rest of the town. There may be people who will really complain about a 2% increase. I don't know. I think Janice did a good job of putting it into perspective. So I'm hoping that will help, you know, allay some concerns that people may have about it costing them. But, you know, I don't know. Some people are on fixed budgets, some aren't, and it won't affect them. There's, you know, we have people across the board. I'm just saying that looking at what we're taking out of our fund balance in order to make this meet, this budget that you have to look at is not sustainable in the long run. I don't believe that we could continue to take more out of, we know we have to also maintain town properties. You know, Dan Chase is not here tonight, but he shared with us some of the repairs that have to be made to the highway buildings. You know, when I saw some pictures, I thought, oh my God, yes, you're right. We have to set up some reserves. We can't not let our properties deteriorate. So we look at that, what does that gotta be? We still, yes, we wanna take care of the employees, but a lot of discussion went into what we thought was reasonable and not the very lowest bottom of the barrel increase. That's what I have to say about that.
Fuel tank.
Yeah, we have a mandated fuel tanks, underground fuel tanks that have to be removed per the DEC. They're mandating that. That's gonna cost us, what, $250,000?
Give or take
Oh, we're up to 3 now?
300.
300,
So I will speak a little bit on that. In the quotes that I've gotten, as far as fuel tanks go. So, in learning all this stuff as I go along from day to day. So the fuel tanks themselves are going to be about, you know, $225,000 to $250,000. guess I didn't realize, and it's, my fault, like, I'm in charge of it, is that the tanks coming out of the ground now have to be, in an environmental study done. They have to be cut in half, they have to be power washed, they have to be disposed of. The last guy that sent me the last quote, which involved all of that, was about 300,000. So I think in moving forward right now is what I'm looking to do, as highway superintendent, is to get our new tanks in place and so that we can use them. There's weekends, if it snows from Friday till Monday morning, we can use 1,000 gallons of fuel. That's the only capacity that I have for diesel fuel. So public safety wise, we need to kind of, I need to step up and gotta make sure we got enough diesel fuel. Have a great working relationship with, the town of Mendon and the town of Wheatland, if anything ever went bad. So there is some security in that. But there was a bunch of unforeseen costs as far as, I can dig the tanks out of the ground. I got guys that are perfectly qualified to do that. The environmental study, on the dirt, on the water, on all that stuff was something that I guess I didn't figure into that whole thing. I thought we could just take them out and move on in life,
Right.
but there is gonna be some added costs.
I know.
$250,000.
I know.
And DJ, I know in our discussion, it was because the tanks are working, it's that sensor that it would make sense that,
But they have failed their tests. So we have to have, according to DEC, we have to have them tested, at a certain time throughout 5 years. Whether some parts are 1 year, some parts are 4 years, some parts are 5 years. They have failed that test,
so it's not just a sensor anymore.
right? So
Oh,
I have till June 1st of 2024, them tanks need to be sitting on top of the ground and no longer under it. And that I spoke with the DC guy who I have a great relationship with. And he tells me the truth every single time. He's like, hey, here's your deadlines for all this stuff. We need to continue moving forward. So, nobody saw this coming. I'm not blaming anybody, but it's something that's gonna need to be done no matter what.
Exactly, and that is in the budget.
So,
not the 300.
Not the 300, we put it in for 250, that's, but, we'll have to figure that out. We know we're mandated to do that, and it is what it is. I have, and I'm welcome help from anybody. I have been writing letters and emails to our elected officials trying to get grant money for that kind of work. Anybody, if your contact at DEC can help, maybe. I look there, I've been looking, and I've been, waiting to hear back, from some people. But, years past, there used to be a lot of money for removing those tanks.
Right.
And so I don't know. That would be great if we can offset with a grant, to do that.
The problem with the world that we live in now, trying to utilize electric vehicles and doing that kind of stuff, that grant money is not for, diesel fuel tanks anymore. I'm, just saying it, the reality of it is the money's not there for that kind of stuff as we go on.
So it's in the budget,
It's,
just saying. The stuff that had to go in the budget, that's something that is being mandated on the town. Where does it come from?
well, that's a question we have to cover because we budgeted 250, not
I know.
300.
I know.
In addition, the grant, if it's ever received, may not coincide with the mandate from the DEC to change the tank out. In other words, change a tank out by the 10th of next month, or you'll be fined So we've got to take that money and out of fund balances. And that isn't such a bad thing because it's a once in probably decade or two expenditure. But I'd like to emphasize what Councilman Morelli said, and that is using a fund balance for wages is not sustainable. And it can deplete your reserve for taking care of emergencies such as this.
Yeah, and when we get into talking about fines from the DEC, it's not like a speeding ticket. You know, we're talking upwards of $50,000, you know. So,
Couldn't ARPA funds be used for a shortfall there?
Say again?
Couldn't ARPA funds be used for our shortfall there?
Well, I committed ARPA funds when we first received them to the water project. And
Which probably is not gonna move ahead without a big federal input.
pardon
But
me?
if we're gonna get fined $50,000, I think we gotta do something about that quick. I mean,
We're
the water,
going down a path that we've committed a
the
lot
water
of those funds
districts are coming, but
to.
it's not gonna be next year. And it's gonna take federal money to do it.
Well,
or
this was,
somebody
this
with a lot
was
of money.
federal money, that ARPA funds is federal money, not taxpayer money from local.
But it could be used
Taxpayer.
for the shortfall here.
We will have to discuss how we're gonna do it, but just saying, we have to make some decisions at some point about where money is coming from and how much we can do and be reasonable.
Deputy Supervisor, would you like to make a comment?
Lots of comments running through my head. But Supervisor, we haven't closed the public hearing and there's people that apparently want to speak again. So I'd like to hear before I say anything else. Then we close. the
All right,
public hearing.
then let's invite the two people who obviously would like to make a statement.
Kelly Prude, President of the Library Board and President, obviously. Dan, I want to ask you about your thought on that, first on the ARPA funds. This is an immediate need to take care of those tanks. There must be money that's the 50,000 we can make up the shortfall. It is the water districts take a very long time to plan out. We definitely have time to make up the $50,000 we would borrow from that by planning. I mean, I'm guessing the water districts are probably 3 to 5 years out. Am I correct?
Probably.
Because that's federal world. Okay, so that's $50,000 divided by 3 to 5 years. Pretty minimal amount to make up. So I hope when you guys go over the budget, you'll look at that very carefully because obviously that's important to get that taken care of. My next question is, I may have misunderstood, but the town pays 90% of healthcare for the town full-time town employees. Yes or no?
And retirees,
And retirees. Okay.
full-time.
So if the the dollar amount required goes up,
They still pay their 10%, correct?
so they don't pay any different amount?
They do, they pay the new 10% of what the new amount
Okay,
is.
all right,
Yes,
okay. So that clarifies that question. Thank you.
you're right.
As far as the shortfall that we may be dealing with in the library budget because of the town's actions, where did the money come from for the person that was appointed for the inflated $25 salary? Now, I'm not saying that person isn't deserving of that salary. I'm sure she's got awesome qualifications. However, this person who is new to the town is being put above our seasoned library employees. So where did that money come from? It wasn't predicted in a budget for this year at that salary rate, correct? I mean, it just got approved, so it wasn't anticipated by the town, correct?
Correct. So currently it comes out of the supervisor secretary salary line item.
Which
there-
had to have gone up.
So at this point, it has not, it will be in the new budget, it is rated higher, yes.
But what
But
about now? Is this person started already?
yes,
So where's her money coming from that's above what the previous secretary was earning?
so let me just finish.
Okay.
So it is still out of that line item. There was multiple months that that position was not filled.
Okay,
So as of right now, the money is still there.
okay. So the money got found to increase the budget line for this person next year from somewhere. So why can't the money be found for the $2,000 we're looking at to maintain library employees who are seasoned employees, who are a benefit to the town, and they're part-time employees? Right, Krista?
Yeah.
So they don't, except for you, so they don't receive any other benefit. They don't get the health benefits. They don't get that package. And what they'll get if that increase doesn't happen is a huge slap in the face. I mean, Rush Library has a great reputation. It's open, it's welcoming, it's technologically advanced. People like going there, people learn there, it's comfortable, it's a safe haven for our youth. It's not gonna be safe if we don't have staff, or we have staff who are horrible. Right now, we've got the best staff you could ever ask for. Thanks to Kirsten, because we've got a fantastic director. But this is just, I just can't believe somebody who's brand new to the town, and again, I have no argument with her skill set, I'm sure she's awesome, but she's brand new and she's held to a higher level of accolades for whatever reason, and our own staff that we've been spending money and investing in training aren't even getting the recognition they deserve to get the appropriate bump up. I mean, how do you expect people to feel? It's not appropriate, it's not right, and anything done behind closed doors that the town is doing is completely inappropriate. I mean, I appreciate what the DEC has mandated. I don't know if we're throwing out around these big numbers to get me not to talk about $2,000. It's $2,000. Okay, I'm sure it can be found. I mean, after all, money was found to have this person's increased salary and put the budget for next year. Because what's the line item, what's the difference if her salary stays within the schedule as compared to what it is next year?
She has about a $6,000 difference.
That doesn't make me feel any better. So that's what I got.
I'm piggybacking off of what Kelly was saying. By my math, it looked like it was about $2,000 that was reduced from my personnel budget. That's about $300 per senior clerk and my part-time cleaner, and $1,000 of my salary. And to hear so soon after being told that the town can't afford that, to hear that a new secretary was hired at a rate off the wage scale and making $5 an hour more, which is over $5,000, does feel inopportune and uncomfortable. I feel like if the town can find the money to pay beyond a wage schedule for a new employee, they should be able to find the money to pay my staff. And I know this is small potatoes compared to what DJ's going through at the highway department, but we are all a team here. We need to feel like a team, and I think you want people to work as a team in this community. We're all trying really hard to do that, but it's become difficult.
Just 2 points. One is that we are not a poor community. If we explain to taxpayers why we need $20 more or $25 more, or we have to face the music with the DEC, and certainly not at DJ's door that this is happening. This is what's happening probably in other highway departments as well. We have money in the kitty. So, certainly I do have some concerns about having someone come in the door. I worked for the town for 2 years, and certainly I started at step one. So, and I certainly had 40 years of experience. I had been an administrator. So experience is not necessarily what puts you into a position. You start at the position step one. So I don't know how that happened, but I do see that what is being raised by the library is an issue across the board in this town, because you have to stay within your salary wage schedules in order, not just for morale, but for equity, fairness. And so $2,000, put it in the budget, then we have that. If we need $50,000 more, you're absolutely right, Councilperson Morelli, you cannot use the unexpended balance for salary. You have to go to taxpayers for salary for sustainable revenue that you need. You just have to do that. And I don't believe believe that we have to overtax some of our residents who are unlimited incomes. We have an opportunity with this board to pass that legislation that Kathy Hochul passed, saying that we can allow people who up to $50,000 to have that income exemption. That should be passed. That should have been passed back last year. When it first came up, I brought it up to the board and it should have been passed. There's no excuse for that. We have enough money in our unexpended balance to deal with what DJ has to face, to help make sure that our buildings get repaired, and still set up a long-term spending plan that makes sure that we don't face this again. But we have $50,000 or more coming in just from interest. And those of us who are doing okay in the world, we're benefiting from those incentives. You know, we're getting sales tax still, but that probably will reduce as people come out of COVID. We had much more than we ever planned. So again, Councilmember really knows her finance stuff. So you can project 5 years from now that we're going to be in more difficulty if we don't face the music now. But at the same time, you know, we do have to have equity in the workplace. And that increase for one staff person has to be recognized across the town. And we should do it before we pass this budget. And we should put that other $50,000 in. And if it increases the taxes by 2.5% or whatever, you know, fortunately, you have good talent on board. And you'll be able to say $25 won't scare me. I might have figured it out, but I'm glad you did. And just do the right thing. But don't, $2,000, you think, come on. They deserve every single penny that they with the library. They are exactly what they have to come here to bet. They are not only our library, they're our recreation department in this town. They provide more recreation for our community. Someone told me today I should go and join the chess club, so I have to go dust off my books about chess. They do so much in our town. They deserve every penny they get. Thank you.
Thank you. Janice, do you want to reply to that?
Close the public hearing. Yes, we can talk after we close the public hearing. Yes. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Wilbur.
Aye.
Supervisor Cusie.
Aye.
So the only thing I was gonna say is I think that there's been some wonderful things brought up tonight. You know, I know where we've talked about funding the seniors again, which that is not in the budget, so that is something we'd have to look at adding. The reserves building, I think we do need to still add that. But yeah, I would really hope that we would really consider all of the different topics tonight, all the way down to the wages, the tank increase. And, you know, don't pass the budget tonight, but really put in some more thought into it and we can talk about it. And Jerry can tell me what to add, but I think there were some wonderful things brought up tonight. So I was gonna say. Thank you guys for everything.
Thank you.
I'll add that with minimum wage increases, it doesn't just impact the library, it impacts recreation as well. So if we're going to be fair, we have to look at all of that, not just one department. We have multiple employees that work for the town that are outside of the wage scale that boards have approved well above what our step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5 are. It is all public knowledge. You can go through the minutes and see that. I'll also add, if you've been looking at the preliminary budget online, you'll notice there are certain departments you may see 11% increase in their salary or their line item, not individuals, but line item. And that's because it came to us from Janice coming on, and she can explain it better than I can, that apparently in last year's budget, increases were not calculated properly. So we're having to make up this year for what was not budgeted last year. All employees were getting paid the 7% last year or whatever it was, but that was the cost of living last year was 7%, and it was what, 3 or 4.1 before, for a 10% over the last 2 years. So we've had to figure out through Janice's homework how to make up that difference amount, and that's not just a couple $1,000s, that's, I don't remember, 30, 40, $50,000 just in one department. So there's been a lot of homework done, there's been a lot of work done by Janice, bringing this to us that we were, I won't say not aware of, but now we are aware of, that we have had to look at this budget very carefully. And when we look at what our balance is in the unexpended balance, if we're gonna take 470,000 out every year, that unexpended balance will be zero in a very short few years.
Well, major component of that is the tax.
Right,
We're not gonna do tax every year.
right. But sales tax is down. You probably heard the county somehow did not do their calculations properly. So they overpaid over 50% of the towns in Monroe County. The supervisor got an email saying, we're so sorry, Town of Rush, but we have overpaid you. So we're not going to pay you as much over the next 2 quarters. So what we've been anticipating, I don't even know the percent difference. So we have been getting hit from a lot of different areas trying to come up with this budget as best we can. So I think those were my notes that I had that I wanted to comment on. If I think have anything else, I'll add to it. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Oh, the seniors, did you want to talk about the seniors? The money?
Yeah, we'll get to that
Okay.
after I make a comment or two about, you've already heard 2 or 3 of us talk about sustainability. That has to be a key and critical issue that not only impacts us this year, but next year, the year after, the year after, the year after that. We also have not mentioned things that are big money drains for us, such as the Rush White Springs Farm buildings, which we are trying to deal with now, because we've got 2 that are have been judged by an engineering inspection that are, one is probably going to collapse if it doesn't have something done to it in the near future. One has started to collapse. Those are all, you can write all the grants you want, and we did write grants and haven't had enough money to cover the repairs to one of the barns. So it's trying to manage the town's budget. I know that many employees seem to think the town is what's in this town hall and how it's managed. Well, that's partially true, but it's the entire town and every resident in this town. And when you consider the fact that better than 50% of our residents are over 50, it's not an easy task to saddle them with. So, I understand. That's one of the main reasons that this board and myself have not had a raise since we took office. And I have refused to appropriate one. But not because we don't work hard and deserve it. I've never seen a board work this hard in all my years with the town, 23 years. But you've got to draw the line someplace, and I chose to draw that line 4 years ago. And if I were here another 4 years, I would probably consider it for the next 4 years, but I won't be here. And that'll be up to someone else. And, we all have the same goal. We don't all have the same way to get there. And that's understandable and that's very, very appropriate. But when you're in the driver's seat, some people who come in and talk to you, or even worse, have no idea of what's challenging and what isn't challenging when it comes to putting together a budget. Would anyone else like to say anything?
I have a question of Janice. Janice, I asked you the other day about timeline. And you have to do something by next week to the state
Yep, for our tax cap.
for our tax cap.
Yep.
And this is due to you by our next board meeting. The adoption of it, is that correct? Can you, for everyone listening?
So yeah, the adoption of the budget will be the next regular town board meeting, which I know you have a couple, I think, before that, but the tax cap, I just have
No,
to get,
we don't have another board meeting. It's just, we don't. Oh, it's in 2 weeks.
okay, so in 2 weeks. Yeah, I would just need he would have to give me direction on what we need to change with the budget. And then I'll give it to you guys again to adopt. And the tax cap, you know, if you all agree that it's not gonna change, I can file that tomorrow even. So
And the tax cap is,
2%.
but didn't you say if you wanted to go over that, that deadline was already over with?
Oh, yes. So to go over the tax cap, you have to do that by a local law. And we would have really had to start that process. We should have started it like June.
And we're at that limit, 2%.
Yes.
So anything that changes is all going to come out of the unexpended
Unexpended,
balance.
yes, fund balance, correct.
That, I just wanted clarification, so we all heard that. Dan, did you hear that? Okay. As far as what, anything that we add at some point comes out of the unexpended balance.
Well, the unexpended fund balance balances your budget
Right.
for whatever you're budgeting, right? Because technically, the county could give you more money that you didn't budget for. So you will take less out of your unexpended.
We have a letter, they're not giving us any more, they're taking less.
No, but I'm saying what we budgeted, right?
Oh.
Like what we budgeted, it could be more, it could be less. It depends on what people spend. So buy on Amazon. But that is how, that is kind of how it goes. All of your revenue is in there and your unexpended fund balance just balances the difference between what your expenses are and what you technically brought in for the year.
We have 2 more months to go though. We don't know what other things could happen. As we are well aware, things can happen in this building and other buildings for expenses. So I just want to make sure we all have it in front of us. So however we move forward.
And I want to make one more comment. I wasn't going to talk about it, but I will, and that is the library roof problem that this administration inherited. It was a problem since the renovation of the 2 buildings back in 2004. Now, every expert that we've consulted to date, 2 engineers, 2 architects, 1 roof expert, and throw in a couple of other opinions, and they all say the same thing. The design of joining the 2 buildings back in 2004 was faulty. Well, I've had people come in my office and say, you were supposed to fix the roof. What do they want me to do? Get up on there with a hammer and nail and start whacking away? No, you hire design professionals, which we did. I didn't hire anyone without board approval. I didn't get it done without board approval. It took $270,000 2 years ago to attempt to repair what was identified as the problem. Well, it did stop some of the leak, but not all of it. And now we're entering another phase of repair I don't know how much it's gonna cost. I think it's gonna cost a few bucks, but I don't know how much it's gonna cost. To me, stopping the roof leak in the library is more important than anything else. But, you know, how many times are we gonna go through that cycle? And to make matters worse, you don't know until 12 months later if your fix has worked. So I just wanted to say that. I know some people probably don't want to hear that, but that's the facts. Would you like to close the,
Well, we closed the public hearing. What we're trying to decide is what our next step is timeline wise. Because you have a deadline that you have to meet, and we have to be able to meet that for you.
Correct. You can table the budget this evening.
I think we should till Dan Chase is here anyway.
Mhm.
I think we should table it until Dan Chase can be available to
that would be
put his
fine.
2 cents in.
So in 2 weeks, you're gonna submit a 2% tax cap next week by whatever you does. And in 2 weeks, again, how we want Dan's input, but that's too late.
So really it has to go through Jerry. Jerry gives me the direction of what, what the input is from the consensus from the group and what I should be adding.
Which is tonight. Right? Which is tonight. She needs that input. Does she need that input tonight?
No, I mean, if you guys can have, I mean, Dave helped me on this one, but they can have separate individual conversations. But I am getting the direction directly from the supervisor. And then you would review it again next meeting and approve it at that point.
Okay.
So if you have an issue with any of the direction he gives me, you can then state,
Are you
nay and not
comfortable with
nay.
that?
I'm comfortable with that. Thank you for that explanation.
Just want to make sure.
Then we already closed the public hearing.
Yeah, and move on to the next
So
one.
we've got to move on to the next public hearing. We're a little late, but, and that's to amend chapters 125, 12015, and 12021 of the town code regarding uses in limited industrial districts. And I would like to turn to Councilperson Morelli to lead that discussion.
Okay,
Would you like your notice read?
yes.
Is there anyone who wanted to sign up?
Please take notice that a local law has been introduced to the town board of the town of Rush, New York on October 11, 2023, designated as local law number 2023 to amend chapters 125, 120-15, and 120-21 regarding uses in limited industrial districts. Please take further notice that said local law number -2023 is on file in the Rush Town Clerk's office located at 5977 East Henrietta Road, Rush, New York, where it is available for public inspection during regular business hours. This notice is being provided pursuant to section 20 of the New York State Municipal Home Rule Law. Please take further notice that a public hearing upon said local law has been scheduled for the 25th day of October 2023 at 7:15 p.m. to be held by the Rush Town Board at the Rush Town Hall, 5977 East Henrietta Road, Rush, New York. An opportunity to be heard in regard thereto will then and there be given. Written comments may also be directed to the Rush Town Clerk. 5977 East Henrietta Road, Rush, New York, 14543, on or before 4:30 p.m. on the 24th day of October 2023.
Thank you. And I would like to invite the first of the public speakers. Becky,
Well,
Bree is easier to say
that's
than,
a maiden name, but. My name is Rebecca Guelli, and I'm with Sealand Contractors Corp. Rush Meadows owns the property. It's all one owner. It's a family business. My father and I are involved in, and we've had approximately 20 acres of undeveloped lots. I have a bigger map, but I'm just a small one here. Most of the lots that we have are subdivided into 2 acres or a little less. And then we have 1 10-acre site. So I was very excited to hear about these proposed changes because we really haven't been able to develop anything. Over the 30 years, we've had tons of offers, people coming to want to develop, and there's always been issues. The code has been against us. And so I'm very excited. I received this when I was out of the country, so we're still in the review process. So I'll be giving some more additional comments probably by next week. But let me just, there's a couple concerns I have. So I just wanted to state those. And at the same time, I want to thank Karen Strock and the whole committee for doing this. So under retail and service type commercial businesses, the concern is these commercial uses are permitted but are limited to no more than 30% of the land area in a limited industrial district. When you look at the map, the zoning, the limited industrial area, we have a big chunk of it. There really isn't much limited industrial land. And I really want to see if, you know, first of all, how is it calculated? But why do we have to have a percentage? Why do we have to have more of a limitation on what we can build? You know, we've been in business for, you know, years, developing bridges, roads, buildings in North Carolina. We know what we're doing. And we've had to turn away so many opportunities. I have a dance studio, and, you know, for the code that it is right now, you know, we burned it. We were out of code because there was a 5% limit. You know, she started crying. I had this big, huge problem. I was already in a lease. It shouldn't be happening. So I'd like to see, you know, if we could just omit the percentage detail. Also, I had an opportunity to have an equipment dealership that was interested. I have another equipment dealership interested in the park. Is this use going to be allowed? And I'd like to address that. Under special permit, the concern is for the minimum area for self-storage. We would like to be able to build a bigger storage units and exceed 200 square feet. If we have someone that wants to build storage units, I understand you don't want a bunch of little storage units around, but I guess there has to, you know, be some kind of description of, you know, mini storage units versus full storage units that storage like maybe cars or vehicles, something that's a little bigger size. And then I go to distribution centers. The concern is that we are still limited on what we can build on our subdivided lots. And I already mentioned that most of them are 2 acres or less. And with the amendment, it changes it from 2 to 4 acre requirement. And that's gonna cause a problem with, you know, having like, you know, this one is 1.8, you know, trying to put 4 acres together. And so we'd like to, I guess, be like grandfathered in if possible to keep those requirements since we already have our site plan, you know, approved 30 years ago.
And then reduce building sizes, maximum building coverage went from 50% to 25%. So we have an existing site plan and now we have to build smaller buildings. So I'd like to keep the 50% requirement and not have to reduce the size of our buildings. Okay, yeah. So any other comments I have, I'll put in writing and send it to the board. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Scott Strock.
I didn't ask to speak, but I will.
Oh, no, that's what you signed up for.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure,
I'm
if you-
sorry. I thought I was just signing up. because I'm here.
If you can give us your name and where you live, your town or residence.
Sorry, Scott, I didn't mean to scare you.
Oh, okay.
Good evening, my name's Dave Shear, owner of Integrated Power Supplies, KFB Properties, and IPSI Leasing. We have lots at 999 Russian River Town Line Road and 1025 Russian River Town Line Road. I would just like to reiterate, we had the same concern as Rebecca about the 30% or 80% period. Some of our buildings are tenant spaces where we rent them out. And I don't want to get into, I have concerns that we could potentially get into a situation where every time we need to move a new tenant in and get a site plan approved, that we're competing with other landowners in that small area because of that 30% rule. So I have really real concerns about that 30% as well. And would like to see that percentage eliminated completely so that when we do change tenants from time to time, we obviously will come and get site plan approvals for the new tenant, but that 30% can really restrict us depending on what's built in that area. So that's my concern as well.
Thank you, Dave.
I have no one on Zoom. I don't know if the deputy town clerk has anyone.
Nope. All right, then we can close.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Oliver,
Aye.
Supervisor Cusie.
Aye. Which allows us to move on to old business. And we want to discuss and review the comprehensive plan full entire environmental assessment form. Part 2. And Deputy Supervisor Corbin will.
Right, and again, because of our lack of technology, normally we would share our screen so you could all see it. Our apologies in advance. Were you going to run through that with us, the part 2? If you- That would be great. I think we've all had a chance to look it over and read through it, so
Sure, okay.
Can
Wes
you-
Petty from LaBella Associates.
thank you very much.
300 State Street, Rochester, New York. I'm here on behalf of Barb Johnston, who was more instrumental in the development of your comprehensive plan and the public process and all of that. She was unable to attend today due to another commitment. And so part 2 of the environmental assessment form, sounds like you've had an opportunity to take a look at it. So prior to the adoption of the comprehensive plan, the town board has to go through the secret review, right? And in doing so, we've got part 1 completed for you, and on your behalf and for your consideration, we've completed this draft of part 2 of the environmental assessment form. And this is really designed to help the lead agency, or in this case, the town board, inventory all potential resources that could be affected out in the environment by the adoption of the comprehensive plan or whatever the project may be. So for your consideration, we've gone through the 18 questions, which are very, very broad, right? Impact on land, impact on geologic features, surface water, groundwater, impacts on flooding, impacts on air, impacts on plants and animals, impacts on agricultural resources, impacts on aesthetic resources, impacts on historic and archaeological resources, impacts on open space and recreation, impacts on critical environmental areas, transportation, energy, noise, odor, and light, impact on health, community plans, and community character. And as we know, the Town of Rush Comprehensive Plan Update will replace the previous Town Comp Plan, which was adopted in 1993. And the plan presents goals and recommendations for the following areas: land use, farmland and agriculture, natural resources and historic preservation, population and housing, business economic development, transportation, energy and utilities, parks and rec, open space, government and community services, history and historic preservation. So for each of the questions in part 2, will the proposed adoption of the comprehensive plan, have an adverse impact, or what will the action involve in terms of impact to the environment? So we've said that, for example, impacts on land, there's not going to be an impact on land. So there may be projects or whether they're capital projects or programs or amendments to land use regulations that would come out of implementation of the comprehensive plan. So in each of those components themselves would likely require their own separate secret review. So each of these categories, we've indicated that there's no adverse impacts anticipated as a result of adoption of the comprehensive plan. So I won't go through each and every one of these items. We could if you want to, but with that summary, I'll leave it at that for now. Once we get to any resolutions, I'm happy to speak on those as well. Any questions for me at this point?
No, we appreciate your part 2 versus other part 2s we've done for large projects. So
Okay.
This one was much easy to get through.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right, we can move on to number 2. A discussion and proposed resolution for the limited audit, and Councilperson Morelli will lead us through that.
So we have talked about this before, and why we need to do this so that we can properly reflect, in particular, two accounts in the town for legal and engineering, because they do not properly reflect the cost to the town as currently stated. And we have no way of knowing whether all costs have been properly charged back where appropriate to applicants who have sent in applications to be decided upon that required additional engineering or legal work. Our form says that they are to be charged pass-throughs to the clients, to the applicants, but it appears that that may have happened a couple of times, but that does not happen on a regular basis, and it hasn't been taking place in a while. But we do not know the extent of what that is. We also don't know what the extent and whether any more monies are due to us from the 2 solar projects for which we established escrows. That has also not been monitored. So we don't know whether we're due more monies for those. We have all the financials also reflect other legal costs for other solar work. And we have been, with regard to Horseshoe Solar, we have been reimbursed via intervenor funds, and that is also not reflected anywhere. I assume the town has been reimbursed. I don't know where the money went, into what bucket. So we do not know the true cost to the town, and here we are budgeting, but we don't know what it cost us. So we are engaging the help of an independent accounting firm to do this work for us because we haven't done it internally. And they apparently can't do it. At any rate, we were authorized to go out and find a firm, which I did through some excellent references. I interviewed them and, explained the scope of work. And that would be with Mengel Metzger Bar and Company, a well-known public accounting firm here in the Rochester area with lots of credentials with municipal financing, a lot of experience in that regard. That was important so that they would understand our fund accounting and how things should be reflected. So we have, received an engagement letter from them and we want to proceed with this work. We want to get it done. We want to know what we have coming to the town. Let's get our financials cleaned up so we know what the town is spending and where. So I will read a resolution.
I thought we were gonna get prices first.
Right.
I did get a price.
We did, and as I explained to you, was somebody saying something?
I know, I asked you.
As I explained to you previously, my intent is to get this work
I
done.
know we're in a hurry to get stuff done, but
I'm not in a hurry to get stuff done. I want to get stuff done and not leave it to my successor. And we've got two board members, myself and the deputy, who won't be here. And I don't want to leave anyone hanging with this as I was left hanging when I took over 4 years ago.
we're gonna get an RFP and then discuss it, and here we are, we've already decided who we're gonna have, and here we go.
That would push it way into next year.
And we've gotten,
I think
These
we
are-
should kind of just.
this
we
is for
need
a,
Some kind of procedure or policy on how this actually should be done, the pass-through billing, before we decide on
it hasn't
what
been,
has or hasn't been
Dan, with
done.
all due respect, since I was elected, I went in and I talked and I raised this issue, this very issue about there needs to be a procedure. What are we doing? Da, 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 da. It hasn't been done. No one has
We need
said
to
that they
that
could
then.
do it. No, duh.
Well,
We need
should
to
do that
find out
before-
where we are. We need to do this. It hasn't been done despite numerous, over almost 2 years, attempts to get it done. It is beyond that. We don't know. And we need guidance and we need to be brought up to speed with someone to say how it needs to be done, because I have attempted it many, many times. You know, I
So what
have
happened?
written
Why didn't it
emails
move
to the
forward?
entire board of this problem for a long time. You know this. I have told you.
But we moved forward on procedures and policies on a whole lot of other things. How come this one never moved forward?
You tell me. You're on the board with me. This has not been a secret. I've been very open about this. Like, I've come in here and I find a problem with our financials. We should be not arguing about trying to get the money back if it's owed to the town.
We owe
And
it.
this is for professional fees. I went out, I talked to a number of people, I get a great reference. They're able to do it. These are for skilled professional fees, company to do this work for us. To tell us, what have we not done? Where are we at? Let's get on the ball and bill it and collect it if we're due money. But at least we'll also be reflecting the stuff that we did collect. Where is it? What's our true cost? What else do we have to bill? The point is, we have no clue. We have no clue. That's irresponsible.
The engineering bills, says right on, this what, for this,
Yes, it
For this
does.
But
application.
Dan, they are not billed to the applicant.
because we don't have a policy and procedure.
No,
in
it,
place.
Oh,
it was
yes, we
done
do.
before. It was
Do?
done before. It has
Well,
not
we
been
have-
It has
done.
We have a lot of
been explained.
turnover. We don't keep
No.
anybody.
No,
We
it was
have,
in the
we
same
have
office, yeah.
consistency in the clerk's office. We know that this
I've
was
been billed
supposed to
through
be
the
done.
Supervisor's office.
It does
That's not a
now, it's
problem.
supposed to now,
goes back
with
to
the budget, we
2022.
have a budget officer, before it was handled elsewhere. Nobody, I don't wanna point fingers at anybody, the point is that no one is doing it. We need to get a handle on it, and then this is what you should be doing. Let's get help from people, professional firm, who's gonna say, this is how you're supposed to do it, because apparently no one can figure that out. We need to
Did we
make
get
it
more than
right.
one quote or just one quote?
I got the one,
That's all?
because I was satisfied after talking to a number of people who told me to talk to the same people.
And I feel that this board, this administration owes it to the residents to make sure that we are watching what gets spent, how it's allocated, who's on the receiving end, and that our bookkeeping for this particular pass-through expense is trackable.
Otherwise, everyone sitting here, you are all paying everyone's bills for their site plans, their subdivisions, their zoning board of appeals applications, for legal and engineering fees, because those fees we've discovered have not been billed out to applicants for quite a while. So we, as residents, the town board pays that upfront to our attorney and engineer. And then a bill is supposed to go out to the applicant for a pass-through. So,
This is not to spend taxpayer money. This is to ensure that we can account to the taxpayer for where their money went.
I understand that.
And for what? Well, I'd like to get it done.
But you've already signed it, so I guess we're getting it done.
and if we were to say $500 per applicant, let's just use that as a round number. And there are 10 applicants in a year, that's 5,000. If this goes back almost 2 years, you can see that the cost of this will offset, hopefully, taxpayers' money that has been paid for upfront. So audits need to be done. We just don't have the capability to be able to do this. We don't have to, it's professional services. She did, Phil. I'm not gonna.
I
go
said
back
they're
and forth.
professional
She said
fees.
it with you.
You need qualified people. Having said all of that, this is an attempt to do something good, to make things right. And if we need to bill more out to people who owe money to the town, to get the money to the town. Let's be happy that we're getting this done. So I move to enter into agreement with Mengel Metzger Bar and Company LLP at 100 Chestnut Street, Suite 1200, Rochester, New York, 14604, for the purpose of applying agreed-upon procedures for the period January 1, 2022 through September 30th, 2023. The primary objective is to review legal and engineering fees incurred and paid during this time to ensure that all applicable fees were properly charged to escrow accounts and reimbursable amounts have been billed and collected in accordance with town policies. The fee for the engagement will not exceed $7,500. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Councilperson Corbett,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Wolliver.
Okay.
Supervisor Cusey.
Aye. All right. Next, we can move on to a discussion of the
Your favorite word.
cannabis management notification of adult use retail dispensary license application that we received a few days ago. And that discussion will be led by Deputy Supervisor Corbett.
So to keep everyone, this is all new to us. Obviously, we opted in for cannabis retail and distribution. Are those the two? I'm trying to remember. And we received on October 12th, I happened to be here. Some people were at conferences, so luckily that's how I got pulled into it, but been working with them. New York State Office of Cannabis Management says notification to municipality. Dear municipal clerk, this serves as notification of Canna Health and Wellness LLC intent to have filed their application for licensure for the operation of cannabis management to open a retail dispensary premises. And if the municipality or community board would like to express any opinion to the Cannabis Control Board, they must respond to this notification within 30 days by mailing an opinion to, and they give us the email. If the municipality or community board would like to request a one-time 30-day extension for the board, we have to request that as well. So this is asking us if we want to have any comments sent to the Office of Cannabis Management, which we have till November 12th to do. If you want to think about it, if we want to, this isn't anything we get public input from, it's just the town board?
No,
It's just a town board
Just a town board.
discussion, and I think.
Have they had it surveyed to see that it comes not too close to the church?
The building inspector, I apologize, David.
Yeah, I'm
My
sorry.
understanding
Sorry,
is who is.
it's okay. Yeah, my only comment here is that you are free to discuss it tonight if you feel like you want to have continued discussion. I mean, between now and November 12th, when 30 days expires, I think we have at least one more board meeting. So you're free to discuss it tonight, discuss it at a later time, ask for an extension, ask for additional 30 days, whatever, you have sort of latitude here. This is a board discussion, this is not a public hearing. And we can offer any comments we want in terms of code compliance or what, getting input from staff or whoever the case might be. On that.
And our next meeting is November 8th, so we do have time if we want to put something together.
if we were to submit a challenge, David, wouldn't the cannabis board, I guess I would call them, frown upon that, or?
They will take our position into account, but they are the ultimate arbiters of granting the license. So they'll be the ones to decide, is this within, at least within state restrictions, too close to whatever. We can point out to them if it's too close to other things as well, offer that position if you want.
But this basically only is asking for an extension of time. That's all it does?
No,
What does it do?
No, we have 30 days to give comment back to the Office of Cannabis Management.
Okay,
And
about granting of a license.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes, this is,
About our opinion of their license grant.
this should be considered our opportunity to object to it if we are objecting to it, or if you have no comment, or if you are in support of it. Whatever position you want to take, this should be considered by the board as this is your chance to provide it.
What would we like to do?
Let's,
My cousin used to own the building. They weren't too happy about it. So Grandpa Bach would be happy.
with the change
Am I
in
allowed to
use.
give the address? Or no? Of the address is 6075 East Henrietta Road, if you are interested, Rush, New York,
It's 6:07.
607. Oh, you did ask me about that.
Might be 5.
It says 6075.
This is the odd size. I think
Okay.
people said.
So would we like to put something together and come back at the next meeting? Or what
Yeah,
would,
my suggestion is that if it doesn't sound like you are prepared to formulate an opinion tonight, which is fine. My suggestion is to formulate your own personal opinions. If the board would like to solicit opinions from other parts of other departments in the town, that's certainly something you consider doing. For example, building and planning, whether it's the planning board or zoning or John Lebeck and Doug Carson. Anybody you want to kind of refer to and ask for feedback, give them this board can decide if you want to incorporate any of those comments or none of those comments, formulate your own opinions.
Given that I've been thinking about this ever since the subject matter came into our view. I've thought a lot about it and I don't like it, but I'm willing to accept it for what it is.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Business.
Hmm?
It's business.
Exactly.
All right, we will come back to it. I'll put it up for, we'll table it and we'll get Dan's input at the next, I'll send them information.
All right,
Okay,
we can move on to number 4 under old business. And that is to adopt a local law number 9 of 2022 to amend the official zoning map. And Councilperson Corbin will explain that also.
all right. Who wants to hear a story? So the story is in our town to create a solar overlay district, we have to create a local law. And as we were going through local laws that we realized had not been sent into Albany, which we took care of a couple meetings ago, we started asking about this one because that had not been sent out to Albany. So as we did our research, we found out that we needed to do one more step. So tonight is to correct that one last step. I don't know if that's any, you'd
Yeah.
like to explain it any better than I can?
I think it's important to note, we already presented this last year to the public, the public hearing on it, we closed the public hearing. The only administrative step was to adopt, we also actually adopted a resolution approving the overlay district. So that is all, and obviously the project was approved too. So this is really a housekeeping matter of needing to adopt that local law to formally amend the zoning map to reflect that overlay district was created.
And therefore, I will read the resolution. Resolution to adopt local law number 9 of 2022 to amend the official zoning map of the town of Rush to create a solar energy systems overlay district for Helios Energy System LLC, Rush Solar Farm 1 LLC's development of a tier 3 solar energy system at 540 Honey Falls Road number 6. Whereas a resolution was duly adopted by the town board of the town of Rush on the 11th day of May 2022, calling for a public hearing to be held by the Rush Town Board on the 25th day of May 2022 at the Rush Town Hall, 5977 East Henrietta Road, Rush, New York at 7:30 p.m. Hear all interested parties on a proposed local law to amend the official zoning map of the town of Rush to create a solar energy system overlay district for Helios LLC, Rush Solar Farm 1 LLC's development of a tier 3 solar energy system at 540 Honey Falls Road number 6. Whereas notice of said public hearing was duly advertised in accordance with law, and whereas said public hearing was duly held at the Rush Town Hall on the 25th day of May 2022 at 7:30 p.m., and all parties in attendance were permitted an opportunity to speak on behalf of or in opposition to said proposed local law or parts thereof. And whereas the town board conducted a coordinated review of the project, including the creation of an overlay district for the proposed tier 3 solar energy system, and on May 25th, 2022, in accordance with the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, and the regulations adopted pursuant thereto at 6 NYCRR Part 617 as amended, collectively referred to as seeker, the town board satisfied the requirements of seeker with respect to the project by adopting by resolution a negative declaration. And whereas the town board referred the proposed local law to Monroe County Planning and Development pursuant to New York General Municipal Law 239M, which returned the referral with comments. And whereas the town board of the town of Rush, after due deliberation, finds it is in the best interest of the town to adopt said local law. Now therefore be it resolved, it is further resolved that the town board hereby adopts said local law number 9 of 2022 to amend the official zoning map of the town of Rush to create a solar energy systems overlay district for Helios LLC, Rush Solar Farm 1 LLC's development of a Tier 3 solar energy system at 540 Honey Falls Road number 6. And be it further resolved that the town clerk be and hereby is directed to enter said local law into the minutes of this meeting and to give due notice of the adoption of said local law to the Secretary of State of the State of New York. Be it further resolved that said resolution and local law shall take effect immediately upon its filing with the office of the Secretary of State of the State of New York. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Oliver,
Aye.
Supervisor Tucci.
Aye. Thank you.
Drink water after that one.
All right, and just to, I'm sure most of you realize this, but just to give you an example, how difficult it is to do things in a municipal environment sometimes. I came into my office one morning, the morning of October 16th, and I found this note that says the Town of Rush Highway Department requests a resolution that the town board sign a municipal agreement with the Monroe County for snow and ice control services. We just can't go buy as much salt as we think we need for the highway. We've got to pass a resolution and make it all upright and legal. And so I'm going to read the resolution, which says Supervisor QC moved to authorize myself and the board to sign a Monroe County intermunicipal agreement for snow and ice control services outlined in the New York State Department of Transportation Highway Guidelines for Snow and Ice Control from October 2023 through September 2028, pending town attorney approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Oliver,
Aye.
Supervisor Tucci.
Aye.
If anybody beyond this has any questions about that or anything, please feel free to reach out to me. I can explain it to you and how it goes. And
Thank
why
you.
it is, so.
I think people like bare pavement to drive on, so better than ice or slush. Number 2 under new business, Deputy Supervisor Corbin will lead the discussion for a proposed resolution to change November 22nd town board meeting date.
And as we have for again, my tenure on this board, we usually catch this date, but we did not catch it. We realized the second meeting in November of the town board is scheduled for Wednesday, the night before Thanksgiving in the organizational meeting. So I am proposing, if we are available, to change that date. I'm supposed to read it, get a second, then discussion. So David's looking at me. I so move to direct the town clerk to reschedule and post in the official newspaper of the town of Rush the second November meeting of the town board to be held either on November 20th, which would be a Monday, or Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, so do we have a preference for a date? Or do you want to leave it on Wednesday?
I'm probably driving to Boston
Yeah,
Wednesday,
I'm
so.
sure a lot of people
Okay.
are. So Monday's the 20th and Tuesday's the 21st.
Either one's fine with me. Anybody's got a
Either one's
preference?
fine with me too.
Fine with me.
Fine with me.
Flip a coin. I guess we should probably check with the clerks.
Well, I'll be definitely doing that meeting.
Okay, is Monday or Tuesday work for you better? Let's do Monday.
Let's
Then
get it done and over.
let's get it over, right? All right.
So 20th.
So November 20th, 2023. Is there a second? Oh, Dan already seconded.
Yeah.
November
November 20th, okay.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Oliver,
Aye.
Supervisor Tucci.
Aye. Next, for new business number 3, I will call on Town Board Member Morelli for discussion and a proposed resolution issuing a negative declaration of environmental significance pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, also known as SEQR, for the adoption of the Town of Rush Comprehensive Plan update.
So this is following up on our prior discussion this evening about the part two of the seeker requirements. And I'm going to make a resolution that we pass that and approve that and move on so I can read this. This is a resolution to issue a negative declaration of environmental significance pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQRA, for the adoption of the Town of Rush Comprehensive Plan update. I move, whereas the Rush Town Board, the board has determined that the adoption of the Town of Rush Comprehensive Plan update, the plan, is a type 1 action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQRA, and that the town board is the only involved agency for the SEQRA process. And whereas the Rush Town Board caused a full environmental assessment form to be prepared for assessing the potential environmental impacts that may result from the adoption of the plan, and whereas the Rush Town Board has reviewed and considered part 1 of the full environmental assessment form, public comments and environmental record concerning the plan, as well as completed the applicable parts 2 and 3. Can we talk about that? Can we say that?
Yeah, if you have acknowledged that you have reviewed the part 2 prepared by Labella and there are no material adverse impacts, that will be noted in part 3.
We've got that here.
Right, they've already prepared that, and that will be
Okay,
authorized, you're authorized during the sign that as prepared by Labella.
okay. So parts 2 and 3 of the full environmental assessment form and identified no significant adverse impacts. Now therefore, be it further resolved that no potential significant adverse environmental impacts were identified with the proposed adoption of the Rush Comprehensive Plan using the criteria for determining significance identified in 6 NYCRR section 617.7 C1 in accordance with 6 NYCRR section 617.7 C2 and 3, and the Rush Town Board hereby finds and concludes that the proposed action will not present a potential significant adverse environmental impact and hereby issues a negative declaration. And be it further resolved that the supervisor is directed to sign the determination of significance to indicate the issuance of a negative declaration. And be it further resolved that copies of this resolution and notice of the negative declaration as adopted by the town board be filed, published, and circulated to the extent required by any applicable ordinance, statute, or regulation, including publication in NYSDEC's environmental notice bulletin, as well as provided to the town engineer and the town clerk. Do I have a second?
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Bolivar.
Aye.
Supervisor Cusie.
Aye. Next on our new business list is number 5, and that was to include a resolution to adopt the 2024 preliminary budget.
Supervisor, we can do number 4.
Yeah.
Because we did get the 239M just at the last moment.
Oh, that's right, you,
Yeah.
right there.
Yep.
All right, so forget what I just said. We're gonna step back one step and discuss a proposed resolution to adopt the Town of Rush Comprehensive Plan update. And that will be led by Councilperson Morelli. Are you prepared for that?
I can do that.
That's great, thank you.
This is a resolution to adopt the Town of Rush Comprehensive Plan update. I propose this, whereas the Rush Town Board makes the following findings. One, the Rush Town Board has, after careful study, considered the proposed document entitled Town of Rush Comprehensive Plan Update. And two, the Rush Town Board has considered comments made at the public hearing held on October 11th, 2023. And three, the Rush Town Board referred the draft comprehensive plan to the Monroe County Planning Department and received comments in response to the referral on, that's today's date, October 25th. And four, pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA regulations, the Rush Town Board, as the only involved agency, has completed the environmental review record on the proposed adoption and maintenance of said document and issued a negative declaration of environmental significance on October 25th, 2023. And five, the Rush Town Board acknowledges that the adoption of said comprehensive plan update is a plan for guiding conservation and development in the town of Rush, and as such will require periodic maintenance to keep the document viable. And six, the Rush Town Board has carefully considered the impacts associated with the plan adoption, as well as comments on the draft comprehensive plan from the public, and finds that said plan constitutes a suitable, logical, and timely strategy for the future development and conservation in the town of Rush. And seven, the Rush Town Board acknowledges and hereby gives public notice that official copies of the comprehensive plan and all modifications thereof shall be on file in the office of the Rush Town Clerk. Now therefore be it resolved that the document consisting of text, maps, and charts entitled Town of Rush Comprehensive Plan Update, to be dated October 2023, is hereby adopted as the comprehensive plan for the town of Rush, Monroe County, New York, in accordance with section 272A of the New York State Town Law. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Wulliver.
Aye.
Supervisor Cusey.
Aye,
Awesome.
Thank you to that group, that committee, Labella.
yes, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. May I just ask a quick question with regard to part 3 of the EAF? May I leave this page with you for signature, or do you have a copy of this page?
I don't believe we do. You want him to sign it right now, and then we'll make a copy so you can take the original with you?
That would be fine,
Would
sure.
that be very efficient of us?
Yeah, that would be great. So, yeah, the signature line is on the back, and Labella has also digitally signed it here,
Where do you need him?
and your signature will be,
Is he in the right spot?
I think he found it. Yes, that's it.
Want me to go make a quick, can Valerie
That
make a
would be
quick copy
fine.
for us?
Thank you.
Thank you for accommodating that. But
3 years. Hard work.
congratulations.
Thank you. That's pretty exciting.
Yes, I agree.
All right.
I would like to wait for Valerie to return for her note taking. She had to fire up the copier.
You guys are welcome to keep the original copy if you want. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie.
Drive safely.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we can move on to number 5 under new business, which was to be a discussion of the proposed 2024 preliminary budget. But as you all witnessed, we have some tweaking to do, so we are going to postpone that until
Our
you-
next meeting.
Yes, thank you very much. And under new business, also number 6, we're going to table the discussion and resolution to adopt local law 2023 to amend chapters 125, 12015, and 12021 of the town code regarding uses in limited industrial districts. And you heard that discussion earlier this evening.
Yeah, let's see the committee.
Pardon
We
me?
can make it a little bit better.
And we haven't gotten the 239 back.
I
We're
agree.
waiting for that 239 answer.
Number 7 is to discuss a very sad situation for me, and that is the future of the Monroe County Fair in the town of Rush and the status of the Monroe County Fair Association. Would anyone like to lead that off?
I would like to table it again. My apologies. We tabled it last time because you were not here. Councilman Chase was here. And now he's not here, but you are. Unless we can have a discussion, I just would like Dan to be part of that.
I think from the fair, for them to move forward, we have to modify our agreement we have with them. They can't make any money holding the fair in the current, the way they do now. They lose at least $11,000 a year putting the fair out.
And we spend thousands of
And we
dollars in
spend
water.
with the water.
Extra
There
money.
needs, if I brought it up before, if they would like to change the agreement, and when I said they didn't want to, but they can't make any money. They want to be able to sell beer. They've done it before. They know how to do it. But they have bands and they could sell beer and they can make a little money and maybe even break even. I mean, but the way it is now, I mean, there's not, I mean,
They don't have
boats
the
aren't all that
they don't-
interesting
They
to a
don't
lot
have
of
the
people.
volunteers to.
Yeah,
even
they
do
don't.
that.
I set up stalls the 2 years it was running. The last time I took them down by myself. There's nobody. I don't
And
know.
it's even worse now because to try to contact a representative of the Monroe County Fair Association is just about impossible. We have contacted legislator Colby, who seems to have some authority to talk to us, but we also called a lawyer who was their representative 2, 3, and 4 years ago. And he has said he would like to know what's going on with the Monroe County Fair. So I agree with Deputy Supervisor Corbin that we should postpone that discussion and see if we can come up with any other information that will help us make a decision in that situation.
I think the people on the board don't want to be the people on the board when the Monroe County Fair has been around forever goes away. Right now, it still exists as an entity, but they don't want to be on board.
Good point.
Well, also depending on what we do in reading the current lease we have, you have, the reason the supervisor reached out to that attorney is because the previous lease that was written, you have to give them almost a year's notice if you're gonna do something.
Have they reached out to the town at all about resuming?
Not to me,
We
I'm
have
sort of
called
on the
them,
Monroe County Fair Board, but I've heard it.
we have probably called them, I'm gonna guess, no less than 10 times. And the only way you can get a hold of Mr. Colby is to call his office, not his county office, but his
Farm
home
office.
office, his farm office. And if you get 1 out of 10 there, you're lucky.
They do have a secretary, or they did. Elaine, can't remember the last name. They have an office at Toby Village or Toby Office Park over there, Clover. And
That was the fair office, which is only staffed sporadically 1 day a week.
Oh. That's way down.
So we don't even know if they've been allotted any money from their funding source.
I kind of doubt if they're not doing anything. I don't usually pay people who don't do anything.
Yeah, normally.
Well, I'd like to postpone this conversation and have it come up again.
We'll put it on the
Some
agenda.
insight, 'cause
What's that?
Dan should have some insight. His wife was, or his aunt was right in the middle of it.
So moving on, Deputy Supervisor Corbin will lead a board resolution of October 19, 2023 regarding the Conservation Board action.
And I was, happened to be at that meeting. I was helping their new clerk, and in your absence, just was helping with technology. And the new clerk is bringing in her knowledge base from being a town clerk at a neighboring town. And she is suggested, and the Conservation Board agreed, that when they make comment statements, they should pass resolutions just like zoning board and planning board. And they were given a communication that we all got in regards to conservation over at White Springs Farm, and a horse's friend. And they made a motion, Member Kraus, seconded by Member Hope. The following resolution was adopted with 4 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent, Member Williver. Resolve the Conservation Board in reviewing the letter from Ann McMicken and Jack Mold received the lease for a horse's friend is positive to conservation in the public park of the town of Rush at White Springs Farm. They wanted me to put that into our agenda, which I have done. So you may move on, Supervisor.
Thank you very much. Number 9, under new business, is a discussion led by Deputy Supervisor Corbin
That girl.
regarding the proposed resolution to rescind the resolution which authorized an amended lease with a horse's friend for real property located at 6565 East River Road.
So for those of you who are still here with us, not many of you, but for those of you also at home on Zoom, you know, a permissive referendum was turned into the town hall on October 13th, I believe it was, in regards to this amended lease. And I'm going to read a resolution to rescind it. We can then have a discussion if so needed. I so move, whereas on September 13th, 2023, the town of Rush adopted a resolution authorizing the execution of amended lease with a Horse's Friend, Inc., AHF, for real property located at 6565 East River Road, which resolution was subject to permissive referendum pursuant to Article 7 of the New York Town Law. And whereas the town received a petition for a referendum protesting against the resolution and requesting that it be submitted to qualified electors of the town for approval. And whereas the town board, having considered the circumstances surrounding the referendum petition and the costs and resources involved in conducting a special election, believes it to be in the best interest of the town for the resolution authorizing the amended lease with a AHF to be rescinded, and that a public information session be scheduled so that the public can have a greater understanding of the rationale for the amended lease with AHF. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby rescinds its September 13th, 2023 resolution which authorized the execution of amended lease with AHF. And be it further resolved that pursuant to New York law, New York Town Law, Section 93, upon rescission of the above resolution, no further proceedings shall be had thereunder, and no referendum shall be held. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Oliver,
Aye.
Supervisor QC.
Aye. And next, number 10, a proposed resolution to set an informational special meeting on November 1st to be led by Deputy Supervisor Corbin.
So in order to get information out that people are feeling they were not informed, we'd like to hold a special information meeting on November 1st. And again, I will read it. If we have any discussion, so be it. I so move, whereas on September 13th, 2023, the town of Rush adopted a resolution authorizing the execution of an amended lease with the Horses Friend, Inc., AHF, for real property located at 6565 East River Road, which resolution was subject to permissive referendum pursuant to Article 7 of the New York Town Law. And whereas the town received a petition for a referendum protesting against the resolution and requesting that it be submitted to qualified electors of the town for approval. And whereas the town board, having considered the circumstances surrounding the referendum petition and the cost and resources involved in conducting a special election, believe it to be in the best interest of the town, adopted a resolution which rescinded the subject resolution authorizing the amended lease with AHF. And whereas the town board believes it to be in the best interest of the town to conduct an information special meeting to better inform the public of the rationale for the AHF to be amended. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby sets an informational special meeting of the town board for November 1st, 2023 at 7 p.m. at the Rush Town Hall for the discussion of the amendments to the AHF lease. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Oliver,
Aye.
Supervisor QC.
Aye.
And I will be reaching out to the parties involved, inviting them to come and give a very brief overview. So I'll be reaching out to the sponsor of the petition. I'll be reaching out to AHF and the town board. And it will be open for questions and comments.
Thank you.
More than 3 minutes?
Did you say something?
I did not.
Oh, thank you. Last on the new business agenda is a discussion and proposed resolution to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Henrietta to establish a coordinated assessment program. In the county for probably the last 3 or 4 years, they have always been very eager for towns within the county to enter into municipal agreements to save money and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'll give you a couple of examples of that. The county would like to centralize all animal control services. We spend under $9,000 a year for our animal control services. But if we were to buy into the county's proposal, my best guess is it would cost us $75,000 a year. So I said, we don't want to do anything, have anything to do with that. And I think the board members will back me up. Why go from 7,000 or 8,000 to 75,000? And we don't have that much animal control activity to participate anyway. But we also were approached by the town of Henrietta to share assessment services between the municipalities. And it would save a few $1,000s for each municipality. And I think it would also make a assessor more available to the town of Rush because the assessor would be working right up the street in Henrietta instead of over in Gates. And not that we expect them to drive here quickly, but there are occasions when the assessor is wanted by someone who walks in the door, and I think it would be more convenient to have that
Bless
person right up the street instead of over by the airport. Is there any discussion on this?
I think everything I read about it sounds great. I just don't understand how it works. How do we stay at 100% assessment value when we've gone through it before? It's time consuming. I don't understand how it works. I mean, it sounds great.
Well, a reval is independent of this activity. And a reval is you use the resources available to conduct that. Some towns use their assessor, some towns hire an independent agency. I think
Do we go through every single property, or is the average stuff, or?
well, it depends on the size of your town, but a town like the size of Rush with limited commercial properties and industrial properties and heavily involved with residential properties, it's not difficult to imagine a experienced assessor doing that job.
We're
I'm just leery.
we're already down to 87%
I know.
in just
Yeah,
2
and
years.
it's-
And the one thing that I learned is that our exemptions, I mean, no matter when it's done, is that change, whether the public knows that or not, right? Is that if you've got a star or whatever, if we're down not at 100%, and we're at 87, you only get 80% of that exemption. And that was eye-opening to me.
So that could be something that particular question, Dan, about the process of what the plan is for getting to, the goal here for equalization, could be something that this board, as part of their participation in the interview process for the new joint assessor, could ask what the plan is, because obviously Henrietta has a very different structure and rate than we do here. So that would certainly be part of the plan. So the plan going forward is that if this is approved tonight, the towns will jointly start their interview process, probably having, I think, 2 from each board interview candidates, and go from there in terms of figuring out what the plan, how that plan will be administered.
Thank you, David. We don't want to, we'll make a decision jointly with the Henrietta board on who gets hired.
Mhm.
But my personal opinion is, and I hope it's shared by this board, we don't want to help anyone cut their teeth on day-to-day assessments or revals. 2 very important situations that we need someone experienced.
And I think also, if I understand from what I've read, is assessor's terms are for 6 years. And even though it doesn't start a year 1, so this is a 2024, 2025.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, by law, by state law, there's a sort of a 6-year clock term that continues to run back from like the 70s or whatever it was enacted. So that block of 6 years continues to run. That block happens to end, that term happens to end, I think, in 24, 25. So I think what you were getting to, Amber, was that would be the time in which if this person, whoever the assessor is who's appointed, their term would go until next few years, basically the next 2 cycles of assessments, and then that would be up for renewal or reappointment at the town's joint meeting.
If it was working, great. If it needed to be amended or whatever.
So we don't have to wait 6 years to change. our
No.
mind.
Right.
Not at all.
But with the constant retail, like, I just wonder how it affects the individual homeowner's tax bill.
Revals are market driven.
Mhm.
And there's, I've watched it for the past 3 years and said, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
But there's gotta be a point where
Yeah.
it slows down and stops. It can't continue to go up.
Would think so.
But if you remember when we did the revale 2 years or whatever, even though everything went up, the tax rate was the same.
Yeah.
There
The tax,
wasn't,
the tax rate went down.
went
Yes.
down, right, so
Your-
that offset it.
Your assessment goes up, but your check amount might
I
not.
understand how that works.
We all did, don't we?
Have to explain it a lot.
Oh,
I
yeah,
know.
been there, done that.
I think it's a positive. I like having someone that a Rush resident could simply drive to Henrietta. If it wasn't during the normal office hours, the assessor was here and make an appointment to see them. It really opens them up quite a bit. We're also getting the other services of, I think they have an appraiser or a deputy assessor or something, so they have a lot. We would keep our clerk here,
Mhm.
completely here, their clerks would stay completely there. And I just think it gives our residents much more ability to interact with their assessors.
I believe they have 3 assessors, 1 clerk, and 1, what is, banks don't do assessments, they do
Appraiser,
appraiser, 1 appraiser.
something like that.
That we would have access to.
Pretty close. Any other discussion?
No, it's fine.
I'm fine with it. I'm ready to move forward with it.
All right. Then, resolution number 2023 to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Henrietta to establish a coordinated assessment program. Whereas the town of Henrietta and town of Rush have the legal ability under the real property tax law and general municipal law to enter into a coordinated assessment program, also known as a CAP, and agreement for the consolidation of assessment services for the respective towns. And whereas it is anticipated that each town will be able to reduce some of that current expense associated with the assessment of real property within their respective town, and whereas entering into the CAP will require the same level of assessment for both towns, ending different tax rates for residents of the town of Henrietta Central School District, which is beneficial to the district from a budgetary and tax rate transparency aspect. And whereas it is anticipated that the town of Rush will incur additional savings because revaluations under the CAP will be performed primarily using current assessment staff, reducing the need to incur additional costs of a third party or paying a part-time assessor for additional work. And whereas the CAP, both towns will strive for a 100% equalization rate, which is encouraged by New York State and provides additional benefits to town residents due to the elimination of the equalization rate penalties. And whereas under the CAP, residents in the town of Rush will have an expanded access to meet with the assessor. Therefore, be it resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute the coordinated assessment agreement in a form substantially similar to the draft attached herewith, with approval from the attorney for the town, with the town of Henrietta pursuant to the terms set forth below, and to execute such other documents necessary to facilitate such program. Number one, the town shall appoint a single assessor in accordance with the applicable law. The towns of Rush and Henrietta shall share the cost of the assessor. Rush shall contribute $18,000 to the assessor's salary with a 3% increase each year. The town of Rush will be responsible for all costs related to operation of the assessment office in the town of Rush, including the employment of an assessor clerk. The town of Henrietta will be responsible for all costs related to the operation of the assessment office in the town of Henrietta, including the employment of an assistant assessor, real property appraiser, assessment clerk, and real property aide. I forgot the real property aide. The assessor clerk for the town of Rush shall be dedicated to the town of Rush. The assessment clerk for the town of Henrietta shall be dedicated to the town of Henrietta. All staff shall be under the direction of the assessor. The assessor shall maintain office hours of at least 4 hours per week in the town of Rush, with the remaining office hours maintained in the town of Henrietta. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Councilperson Corbin,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Wolliver.
Aye.
Supervisor Cuse.
Aye. That's it, folks.
No. There was one more thing we forgot to add.
Whoa.
Sorry, everyone. Seniors, we were supposed to do that under old
Yeah,
business.
okay, I can address the seniors, or you can address the seniors, because our attorney for the town just gave you the
Yeah, you did.
proper verbiage.
Or do you want to explain what? has
I
taken
will
place?
explain why. One day, not very long ago, well, let me start back before that. Ever since I've been employed by the town, which is 23 years, I knew that we subsidized the seniors for their bus trips and also for their use of the fire department facilities over across the way. One day after I had signed the invoices in the abstract, they went to Janice Smith, our financial guru, who said, "What's this for?" And I said, "Well, that's for our subsidized payment to the seniors for this and that." And she said, "I don't think that's legal. You shouldn't be doing that." So I said, "You better find out if we should be doing it or not. And in the meantime, one of us will contact the attorney for the town and say, should we be doing this or not?" So to save you a lot of pain listening to me, I can tell you that we found out that we shouldn't be doing that. Oh my gosh, you can't believe the uproar it created with the seniors. They were ready to tar and feather all 5 of us, except Ian, and run us out of town. And so I called our attorney and said, "You've got to figure out a way to be able to do this and make it legal." So he did figure out a way to do it and make it legal. And we will be reinstating those subsidies after I sign this agreement. David, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think just it's important to note that, by under town law, the town is authorized to, is allowed to both provide funding for its own recreation programs for seniors specifically, and also provide assistance to outside organizations that might also provide recreation programs for seniors. It's obviously a priority for, as a matter of public policy. And in order for us to do that properly, we just need to have a agreement with whatever organization we want to assistance too. So that's what this agreement is doing. It's my understanding that the dollar amounts at issue here are just reflecting what the current status quo is, as far as I'm aware. But this agreement basically memorializes just that we are providing some type of financial aid to Rush seniors for those senior Rush residents who are traveling on or went on some bus trips to various programs, as well as whatever the cost is for the monthly meeting space, which also is a place where they hold events.
And I will add that the president of the Rush Seniors Group and the acting secretary for the Rush Seniors Group both read the resolution and said, that's fine, that's great. And they signed it.
All right, I will read it. Whereas the town board pursuant to New York General Municipal Law, Section 95A and Town Law, Section 17B is authorized to establish recreational programming for senior residents of the town and to also allocate funds in furtherance thereof. And whereas such programming is administered by the Recreation Supervisor and Recreation Office. And whereas the town board recognizes that Rush Seniors, an unincorporated membership organization, provides certain recreational programs to senior citizens, including those living in the town. And whereas the town board desires to support Rush Seniors in providing recreational programs for senior residents of the town, which the town board has deemed would be consistent with and in furtherance of the town's own recreational programs for its senior residents. And whereas such assistance will be in the form of subsidizing a portion of reasonable bus travel expenses for town senior resident participants of Rush senior events and providing financial support towards the monthly cost of a meeting and activity space at the Rush Fire Department, 1971 Rush Mendon Road, all as may be administered by the Recreation Supervisor. And whereas the town board believes that it would be in the best interest of the town to support programming for town senior residents in such manner. Now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is authorized to enter into a services agreement with Rush Seniors in a form substantially similar to the attached agreement, as may be approved by the attorney for the town, to subsidize a portion of reasonable bus travel expenses for town senior resident participants of Rush senior events in an annual amount not to exceed $8,500 and the monthly cost not to exceed $500 annually of a meeting and activity space at the Rush Fire Department, 1971 Rush Mendon Road, all as may be administered by the Recreation Supervisor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Councilperson Corbett,
Aye.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Wolver.
Aye.
Supervisor Tucci.
Hi. All right, folks. For those of you who had the fortitude to stay with us, I thank you very much. And having no further business to conduct, I adjourn this meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Phyllis, our last two meetings, we rocked that.
Any fee to be a senior citizen?
$10 a year.